Welcome to episode 4 of Power Play. I'm your host, Paul Browning, leveraging a career that spanned the globe and experienced the full spectrum of energy technologies. Now, stepping into retirement, I'm using Power Play to travel the world and explore the hard truths of the energy transition, from the Rust Belt of America to the energy markets of Asia, Europe, the Middle East, and Africa. In this episode, we're going to talk about speed and delve into the remarkable pace at which China is tackling the energy transition, from deploying cost-efficient solutions to erecting the infrastructure that will power tomorrow. But this isn't just about speed. It's about the agility to adapt, invest, and realize returns with unprecedented swiftness, and in the process, create jobs. We have to recognize that the energy transition is going to be a race against global competitors, as well as a race against time, as the impacts of climate change unfold before us. I traveled to 4 different cities during this trip to China: Beijing, Weifang, Jinan, and Xi'an, all on bullet trains that traveled over 200 miles an hour. Every major city in this vast country is now connected by bullet train, and if all the high-speed rail in China was laid end-to-end, it could circle the Earth. During my travels, I visited highly automated factories gearing up to provide unprecedented annual production of energy transition products. I passed high-voltage transmission lines that now connect China's hydropower in the southwest, their wind in the northwest, and their solar power from the remote Qinghai province to the demand centers in the east coast of China. To put this in perspective, between 2010 and the present, China has built over 35,000 kilometers and 150 gigawatts of high-voltage direct current transmission. During this same time, the U.S. and Canada combined have built 4,300 kilometers and 9 gigawatts. During this trip, I was struck time and again by another major impediment for workers in the West to compete with Chinese workers. And it's the speed at which Chinese manufacturers and project developers can move. The old adage, time is money, hits hard in manufacturing and project development. In the West, red tape delays projects, taking 2 to 10 times longer to build than in China. Chinese investors see quicker returns and lower risk. Speed pays. For example, in the United States, the Plains and Eastern Clean Line was a transmission line proposed in 2009 to connect the renewable power in West Texas and Oklahoma to demand centers in the East. In North America, it takes 11 to 12 years to build a transmission line like this. Why? Because during permitting, their development team had to navigate overlapping jurisdictions, multiple state and local authorities, and federal rules. And every landowner and stakeholder along the transmission line had to have their say as well. In December of 2017, the project was put on hold. And now, in 2024, 15 years later, we're still waiting. And listen, I know some of you are going to want to make this easy and say that I'm talking about the difference between a centrally planned communist autocracy and Western democracies where everyone has a voice. But it's more than that. One of the things I'll talk about when we go to North America is that there are some things that we can move with incredible speed on and that we lead the world in. And there are some places in the West where energy transition factories and projects happen faster than in others. We can and we must move faster. As we conclude our exploration of China's pivotal role in the global energy shift, our last hard truth is that it's clear the West faces a seminal challenge in aligning with China's pace. Beyond the labor cost disparities, a gap that's narrowing as China becomes more prosperous, lies a labyrinth of regulatory and permitting hurdles, legal maneuvers, and protests that are delaying progress in the energy transition. Subsidies, while beneficial, are not a silver bullet. If we fail to solve this problem, we are making a decision to cede manufacturing jobs to China and to lose the race against climate change. When I wrap up each regional visit, I want to take a moment to provide some personal comments. I started Power Play because I feel like in a world of biased media and political campaigns, we're not always getting the real story on what's happening in the world. And as someone who's worked around the world for a long time, I feel like I'd like to give you the hard truth of what's really happening in the energy transition. These first 4 episodes, I hope you take away a better understanding of China's energy transition as it relates to cooperation, competition, and speed. Let's start with cooperation. By working together between the West and the East, we've made amazing progress. Early adopters in California and Germany paved the way for Chinese manufacturers to come in and make renewable energy cheaper than fossil fuel energy for the first time in human history. And we're seeing this play out in China and around the world. In addition, lithium-ion batteries are now so inexpensive that it's cheaper to use renewable energy to provide capacity for a few hours every day than it is to use fossil fuels. And finally, as we heard from BYD, electricity is now cheaper than oil for passenger vehicle transportation. These are all huge step forwards and really important early inning wins in the energy transition. But the other thing we need to recognize, with all the success we've had in cooperation, this is also a competition. And workers in the West are losing jobs to China. It's as simple as that. And we really need to think about that and deal with that fact going forward. And I've been learning myself while putting these episodes together. I already knew the story of cooperation and competition between the East and the West, which is why I started in Xi'an, the source of the ancient Silk Road, to help people understand and put them in the frame of mind that this cooperation and competition between the East and the West has been generating good outcomes for mankind for, a couple of millennia now. But my own personal aha from this trip, my first trip since the pandemic, was the incredible gap in speed that's developed between China and the West. We just have to start making progress on closing the gap between speed, and we have to start it right now. There's no time to waste, and if we choose not to do this, or if we can't figure out how to do this, we're ceding jobs from the West to the East, and we're also jeopardizing whether we're going to be able to install new energy transition infrastructure in time to beat the clock on climate change. And I want to share one last takeaway that's related to speed. It's clear that China's GDP is growing faster than those of other leading countries, and it has been for decades, and it probably will continue to for the next decade. What that means is that China's GDP is soon going to be the largest in the world, and we need to start preparing for that day now. If you combine the GDPs of the United States, EU, UK, Canada, Mexico, Japan, South Korea, and Australia, they add up to over $50 trillion and 1.2 billion people. Together, we're a juggernaut. Apart, we aren't. And we need to start realizing how important it is to engage with our allies. Disengagement is really not an option. Well, I hope you enjoyed these first 4 episodes. I'd love to hear your feedback, your comments, and your questions, and any suggestions for future topics either on my LinkedIn account or on my YouTube channel. I promise that every respectful, serious comment will receive a respectful, serious response. And please subscribe for free to my YouTube channel so you'll receive future episodes of Power Play. This spring, Power Play will focus on North America, and then I'll be headed to Europe for the entire summer. I've already received invitations to Pakistan and Bangladesh in the fall, and I'm talking to a friend and colleague about putting an Australia episode together. So please reach out to me if you have ideas for a country or region that we haven't visited yet. And please remember that you are part of the solution to the hard truths we're discussing. We all need to be part of the energy transition. So, as we leave China and prepare to travel to North America, let's take one last walk together in Xi'an as we continue traveling the world to explore the issues and places that are defining the energy transition and the unfolding of a new era for humanity and our planet. And first up in North America will be a place dear to my heart, San Diego, California, my home. Let's go.